I'm Jennifer Marie Keller. Welcome to my Diary of a Painter. I'm going to be talking about these two seascapes that I made plein air. But first, someone was asking about my plein air setup. I'm going to make a more lengthy video going into more details about exactly what I take with me when I go out plein air painting, but here's a short sneak peek. This is my setup. The easel that I use is by Studio Design. I like it because I can be standing and keep my painting at eye level, which I prefer. I have a wooden palette that I use that I hold while I work. I keep my brushes on the ground and paper towels and a little tiny jar of turpentine. I like to use as little turpentine as possible. I have a pretty basic color palette in my studio work, same with my plein air painting, though I do use a few more colors with plein air, and I'll go more over the colors that I use in that later video. Working on these two plein air paintings, I did something different where I spent 2 days, 2 separate sessions working on these, and I feel like this has just unlocked something for me. I really loved it. I love the results, and I think I prefer working this way, so I think I'm going to be doing this a lot in the future. I'm going to be talking about this one first. So these both were done at Davenport Beach, this one of cliffs, the other one of just the ocean. So when I set this one up on the first day, it was a really cloudy, misty day, really moody. I love that in paintings, that like moody, mysterious look. So I was really excited that the weather was like that so I could explore that with painting this. So the first day working on this, I was really focused on getting a composition that looked nice. There was a lot more rocks in the ocean, and I simplified it. So I have this basic mass up here, this mass right here, and this one right here. And I feel like this rock really makes this composition work, having this dark point right here. There was a few more rocks out here and a few more along here, but I feel like keeping it that basic 3 brings a lot of strength to it, keeping it simplified that way. And so yeah, first day working on the composition, getting everything to look really powerful, and working on value, and then color. And so this is a very muted painting color-wise, which I like, but definitely thinking about color and temperature and all of that to really make the painting work. And so when I start this painting, usually my paint is pretty thin. I will start out dipping my brush in turpentine and kind of dabbing then my brush on a paper towel so that there is kind of as little turpentine as possible on my brush while still being able to like break up that paint and get it to like really move across the panel very quickly and easily. So I'll do that to block things in, to block in the like basic values and colors to get the drawing. And then as I work throughout the painting session, the paint just gets more thick and more brush strokey, and I'm finding that I really like varying up the brush strokes. So having like the brush strokes matching the movement of the water and having that diverse contrast with the sky and having brush strokes that are going down. And I think that helps the feeling of the day as well, because with the sky being so full of those clouds, it was kind of like the sky was like weighing down on you. And so having those downward brush strokes, I like the energy that it gives. I really like the idea of the painting, but it looked too much like a sketch and not a finished idea. I decided to go back to the same spot so I could work on this painting again. And so the second day that I went out there, the sun was shining, the sky was blue, completely different feeling. Even though everything looked completely different, the water was so blue that day, and it did not look like this at all, and just had like a different emotion to it. What I did was I set up in the same spot, I put in music and was listening to these really dramatic, moody soundtracks. I really like the soundtrack The Village a lot, that has that eerie, mysterious, dark feeling that I'm after. So I felt like that helped me get back into the back into the mood and kind of ignore the sun shining. And I feel like having the weather be different and having the light situation be completely different, that was actually quite nice, because I could still be taking reference from the sky and the water and the cliffs and seeing how the temperature shifts vary between those three things, and also the temperatures that are shifting from perspective, so the horizon rather than the parts of the ocean that are closer to the viewer. So I could still pull from that and kind of see surprise color variations, value variations that I want to pull from that, but also making it still working with this mood that I wanted, this like dark painting, moody painting that isn't so colorful. And then working from memory. So I feel like working from memory in this sense, where I'm still looking at the scene, but remembering it in that like moody, foggy, cloudy day, that I am probably over dramatizing what I thought it looked like in the best way possible. And so I could pull from that and make it work for my painting. And I really like that. I really like that difference, being able to look at the actual scene, but then also be also working from mixing that with memory from where the scene looked different. I felt like that was a really nice blend. And also doing that, I'm not just copying nature either. It's using elements that I remember the day before, but like really working that in the composition to not just make it a copy of nature, but like look like a nice finished compositional picture. And so I love this little painting, this little 4x6 of these cliffs. I feel like this really shifted the game for me, and now I can take plein air painting into a new direction where I'm not just documenting what I'm seeing, but really making like a really emotional, mysterious painting. And also just having that second day on it, since I had built up all of this paint texture the first day. There's some parts that are thinly painted, other parts where it's like very thickly painted, especially in the water. And so having that second day, having it dry so those brushstrokes are there, they're staying, the texture of those brushstrokes, I was then able to do some scumbling, scraping paint with a brush, like scrubbing the paint into certain areas, and then taking a palette knife and scraping the palette knife over the top. So it's taking that new fresh paint off the top of the ridges of that dried paint stroke, but then you can still see that new value or color that I was applying that's like embedded into the texture of it. So I love variety in painting and getting to see all those different techniques that really serve the picture and create a lot of interest wherever you look, which I wasn't able to do when I'm just like working plein air as much that I can do having this second day on it. So I loved it. It was such a good experience, and I think I'm going to be definitely doing this in the future. So when I was working on this one, this little guy, it was the same day that I was working on the cliffs painting. By the end, when I was the first day working on the cliffs painting, the sky had cleared up, so it was a blue sky. So that's how I painted this one. But I kind of don't prefer that in painting. Like I said, I like that more moody feeling. So then the second day, it was the same blue sky. Though the difference between those days was the first day working on this one, there was all this foam then on the top of the ocean, and the second day it was pretty much completely gone. So then working on the second day, I made the painting more moody and tried to make it look like it was either a storm was coming or maybe a storm had just passed, where you have that heaviness in the sky and the clouds, but right over the horizon is a more blue, peaceful sliver of the sky. I kind of like that feeling of changing weather. I think that's very interesting. And then also, since the foam wasn't there on the second day, more remembering how it looked, and I kind of moved the composition differently and created this arch that brings you back into the curves around into the horizon. And then where it touches the horizon, the sky is doing something with the clouds with a little bit more color, where it is in that strip of calmer sky, and then you have that heaviness of the clouds above that. So again, I feel like I improved this painting a lot, getting to add all of that variety, texture-wise, value-wise, temperature-wise, color-wise. I like this direction that I'm going in, and I'm definitely going to be doing this. I feel like I really did unlock something then with this plein air painting this way, and I really prefer doing this way. I feel like when I come home and I look at my painting the next day, and reasons why, if I don't like the painting, why I don't like that plein air painting, it is because it has more of a sketch feeling to it rather than a finished picture. And I feel like working this way really solves that, and I can move it from a sketch into a finished piece. And it gives me that time then where I can look at the painting, see what I don't like about it, why it's not looking like a finished piece, and then I can think of ways that I can kind of infuse the feeling that I want into the painting, like that change of weather, mysterious moodiness to it that I really like. Doing this way, I have with my plein air paintings before then gone home and painted some sections to it, and I'm working from memory, but I feel like when I go back to the site, and even if everything, like the weather is completely different or elements are completely different, the light's different, the light effect's different, I can still then be pulling from what I'm seeing and having those clues from being on site by seeing the temperature shifts and in relation to other parts of the scene. And if I want to use that, I can in the painting or not, and then just be working from memory. So I like the play from like working from sight and memory, and then just fusing in what I want to make a really nice piece. I'm Jennifer Marie Keller. Feel free to email me at jennifermariekeller@gmail.com for any inquiries on pieces or if you have any questions. Also, if you go to my website, jennifermariekeller.com, and if you go to my shop page, I still have limited edition prints of my cherubs painting in different sizes, so make sure to check that out. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and in the description box you can also check out all my other social media links.